Yes, it's being brought forward in a sense because of these massive cyber attacks that we've seen on Optus and Medibank in recent weeks. Real concern from consumers that their very personal data is now out there and subject, in the case of Medibank, to a ransomware and a ransom request upon the company. We've heard from the Attorney General Mark Dreyfus today, who says that the current fines are really not enough of a deterrent to companies to force them to take this seriously. $2.2 million for companies that don't do enough to keep sensitive data safe. The Attorney General says that that is currently seen as just a cost of doing business rather than something that really sharpens the minds of senior executives and make sure that they're taking this really seriously. So under the laws that are put forward, the financial penalties that could be imposed on companies are at the very least $50 million. It could be the case that it is significantly more than that if it is a very serious breach or it is a repeated breach and a case where the company hasn't done enough to keep this information as safe as possible. We've also heard from the opposition today, which has been calling for some time for these penalties to be increased. We've heard from the Shadow Minister, James Patterson, who says that in principle, this is something that the Liberals would support, although they would wait to see the finer details of the legislation when it is introduced next week. This isn't retrospective, so it doesn't apply to some of the high-profile cases that we've seen in recent weeks. It's what happens from going forward and sending a message to companies that hold this very sensitive information. Let's take a listen to how the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, outlined the impact of these fines earlier today.
This is alternatively a penalty of up to $50 million or 3 times the turnover for the relevant period. That could mean for a large corporation fines in the order of hundreds of millions of dollars, and we think that that will concentrate the minds of directors of the boards of these companies.
That's the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, flagging legislation to be introduced into Parliament next week. It will be a very busy week with the budget, this legislation, and also some proposed changes to the industrial relations system. So a very busy week ahead in Canberra.